behind her handkerchief. The shepherd and shepherdess bent their eyes on the ground, wondering. It was with difficulty Rosamond could keep her place, but so wise had she already become that she saw it would be far better to let everything come out before she interfered. At length the door opened, and in came the officer, followed by Agnes, looking white as death and mean as sin. The shepherdess gave a shriek and darted towards her with arms spread wide. The shepherd followed, but not so eagerly. "My child, my lost darling, my Agnes!" cried the shepherdess. "Hold them asunder!" shouted the king. "Here is more villainy! What! Have I a scullery maid in my house, born of such parents? The parents of such a child must be capable of anything. Take all three of them to the rack, stretch them till their joints are torn asunder, and give them no water. Away with them!" The soldiers approached to lay hands on them, but behold! A girl all in rags, with such a radiant countenance that it was right lovely to see, darted between, and, careless of the royal presence, flung herself upon the shepherdess, crying, "Do not touch her, she is my good, kind mistress." But the shepherdess could hear or see no one but her Agnes, and pushed her away. Then the princess turned, with the tears in her eyes, to the shepherd, and threw her arms about his neck, and pulled down his head and kissed him. And the tall shepherd lifted her to his bosom and kept her there, but his eyes were fixed on his Agnes. "What is the meaning of this?" cried the king, starting up from his throne. "How did that ragged girl get in here? Take her away with the rest. She is one of them too." But the princess made the shepherd set her down, and before anyone could interfere she had run up the steps of the dais, and then the steps of the king's throne, like a squirrel, flung herself upon the king, and began to smother him with kisses. All stood astonished, except the three peasants, who did not even see what took place. The shepherdess kept calling to her Agnes, but she was so ashamed that she did not dare even lift her eyes to meet her mother's, and the shepherd kept gazing on her in silence. As for the king, he was so breathless and aghast with astonishment that he was too feeble to fling the ragged child from him, as he tried to do. But she left him, and running down the steps of the one throne and up those of the other, began kissing the queen next. But the queen cried out, "Get away, you great rude child! Will nobody take her to the rack?" Then the princess, hardly knowing what she did, for joy that she had come in time, ran down the steps of the throne and the dais, and placing herself between the shepherd and shepherdess, took a hand of each, and stood looking at the king and queen. End of chapter 14. Recording by Nathan at antipodeanwriter.wordpress.com.